dealing with this subject quite deeper, but because of the paucity of time, I just now decided to give you just a bird's eye view of the concept of reservation, which has come from abroad, which is not an Indian origin, like people believe. It is affirmative action. The jurisprudence of affirmative action, because the other constitutional aspects have been covered by Madam already. And then I'll tell you about the special case of the scheduled caste when it comes to affirmative action. And then, of course, the recent judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court. Let's begin. I'm not doing any deeper analysis at all because it will take enormous time. We'll have different other opportunities for it. Now, what exactly was happening at the time when India became independent? In the year 1947, when the whole process of making of the constitution began in India, under the leadership of this great man, B.R. Ambedkar, there was a huge event happening at the international level. And what was that event? The event which changed the minds of the whole world. The invention, the greatest invention of the human mind. That is the finding which is based on the highest values of the humankind. What were those highest values? Equality, fraternity, and liberty. And now this equality and fraternity and liberty finds its place in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the human-made, which was in fact corrected by a lady when it was said. That is the importance of representation. Because it was originally said men are born equal. But it was corrected later as human beings are born equal, and that too by a lady of high reputation. So the point which I'm trying to make is that this huge event happened at the international level, and people who believed in progress, people who believed in peace, people who believe in stability of the humankind always stood by progressive principles of democracy. And that progressive principles of democracy found its place in the Constitution of India. And that is largely because of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and also a team of people who believed in the progressive democracy of India. Now, that takes its place in the Constitution of India, again, equality, fraternity, and liberty. And let us see, when we say in terminology, yes, the moment India became independent, the moment India became republic, the moment we have established a constitution, in law, equality is achieved. The law behaves equally to all. But in fact, whether we have achieved equality or not. So this is the basic difference between equality in law and equality in facts. So this is something which we have to examine, how it works in the Indian context. Now we have to see that the Indian context, or even before going to the Indian context, let's see how this aspect of politics works, the aspect of governance. Like there are hundreds of interests, there are thousands of interests, and these interests are linked with different groups, different sections of people, different aspirations of people, and these interests become conflicting. The main role of the government, the state, the protector, the parent of the children. If it is a huge family, our nation is a huge family, and the government, the different organs, the legislature, executive, and judiciary, if we consider them as the parents of this country, we children who are in different sections are to be seen differently for the purpose of bringing uniformity and equilibrium in the process of governance. And that is the responsibility of the government, the state, the protector, the arbiter, and the provider. This is the basic concept of human rights jurisprudence. This is the basic concept of bringing in affirmative actions in a society. Now the question is, What exactly is the concept of affirmative actions? Affirmative actions, to my knowledge, and I believe in that school which says that affirmative action has nothing to do with poverty alleviation. Even if affirmative action is adopted, even in past Greek countries, where democracy was not practiced, affirmative action was not used for removal of poverty. It is so confusing otherwise, because affirmative action addresses only a small percentage of a group. Suppose you say that we have reservations. Reservation addresses only 3% or 4% of the total population of a group. Now, if we say that it is an economic problem, the problem with it is that it does an inequality. Because through identifying a few people through conducting an examination, we say that you are all entitled to escape from the tyranny of poverty. No. The responsibility of the state is divided into 3 categories. And this aspect and this concept was beautifully presented to us, made us understand what is it. The society is divided into 3 categories. The societal aspects will have to be seen into 3 spheres, divided into 3 spheres. What is it? The political structure, the social structure, the economic structure, and the political structure. Now you see social power, economic power, and political power. Now, so far as social power is concerned, as I said, the conflict of interest, social interest, economic interest, and political interest. Now let us see, for example, the situation of the scheduled castes. There are, the deep analysis will have to be made. For that, I don't find much time. But therefore, I confine my, discussions or talk on this limited, just by giving a peripheral understanding about these concepts. Now, let us shift on to the special status of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and why it has to be so. Why it has to be so? That is because of historic reasons. Now, history, when you say that years and years ago, this particular group of people have taken different forms of nomenclature. Different nomenclature. I'll give you the example. Years and years ago, in the history, we noticed the terminology, the nomenclature of these people who were identified as a group as the Panchamas. During that time, law was not ready to give equality. Even legally, it had the sanction of law. Practice of untouchability for a very long time in history had the sanction of law. And this is the danger, and this is the basic problem. When we compare caste with the race, it is by academicians of high reputations, they say that caste is more rigid than the practice of race because it always had the sanction of a religion. And from there it travels. And next they are known by the name, by the nomenclature, Dalits. The propounder and the person who coined this particular nomenclature is no one else but the greatest Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, one of the greatest social reformers of India. Now, who are they? The Panchamas, I have said, outside the fold, who were distanced from the mainstream of society. I don't even say mainstream, who were not even treated as human beings, the conduct with them was considered impure. Now, I am not talking about the past, I am also talking about the present. It is not just about the past. What is happening at present, I will come. Even after 75 years of the practice of independence, what is the situation that is prevalent, widely prevalent across this country? In more than 6 lakhs villages are there in this country. And what is the situation of the Dalits? What is the situation of the upper affluent Dalits? And how is it different from others? The treatment of Dalits. So, Jyotirao Phule said, Dalits, who are they? Who are the untouchables? Who are the outcasts? Who have constituted the lowest stratum of the Hindu society in the Indian subcontinent. And then later in the year 1915, the British Raj conducted a detailed inquiry into the matter of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. And it took another Another enormous process, which is a social investigation, a scientific investigation into the lives of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. And they have made certain criteria. You have to be extremely backward, you have to be extremely deprived of education, you have to be ill-treated, you should be of below the purity levels, those castes which are treated as below the purity levels. This criteria was imposed by the sociologists, expert sociologists, to analyze the difference between the lowest and the uppermost. Now, this aspect was adopted, and the British Raj called this group as the depressed classes of India. Yes, Dalits are called the broken and the outcast, broken and the scattered group. So, depressed classes of India are the extremely backward, extremely poor, and so on, and totally underrepresented in the process of governance and not seen in the vicinity of mainstream life. This is it. They have introduced reservation provincial legislatures. There are many detailed aspects to it. I'm not going into it because the time is running out. Now, let us have an understanding about the social status, how it is different sociologically, how sociological perspective views the status of the scheduled castes. All the scheduled castes, I think around 53 castes are there in Kerala. And all these communities, all are placed live in familiar circumstances, in familiar conditions. So the point to be considered to categorize this group, even by the British, and even at the time of independence, to categorize this group as the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, is the point which, the thread that runs from one caste to the end of all the castes. The phenomena is uniform. What is the phenomena? That they are extremely poor, extremely underrepresented, extremely backward, and subjected to social ill-treatment, and the very identity itself is stigmatic and taboo is attached. Now I point out one aspect. We have all studied the life of the great Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and he returned from England. And when he was the principal of the Bombay University, when he handed over a file to a subordinate of a higher caste, that gentleman, that humble person, I would say, was unwilling. So the progressive people joined and said that we should make him, teach him a lesson. But Dr. Ambedkar, the most civilized gentleman, said, sorry, it is not his problem. It is the problem of the system. I will change the rules of the game. And he tendered resignation. So many examples. Even the topmost executive of this nation, couldn't enter certain places of worship. Even Deputy Prime Minister, who had bad experiences. Now, I'm not talking about that alone. Let us see, for example, the people who hold the highest positions in the bureaucracy, who belong to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. Their experience is that, according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that concept I'm not in a position to discuss now, it takes time. Now, in all walks of life, if we examine, the situation is that with respect to, we have to examine the sociology of wealth. Who are the wealthy people? We have to take the details of that. Wealthy people, what is the representation of these most underprivileged people in different international institutions of reputation? We have to take that. Details, that is exactly what we have to do. That means we are enabling the government, we are placing representations to the government to take the entire details by constituting an expert committee for that purpose, which would exclusively look into this and document the entire process. And these documents will be presented to the three organs of the government. Thereby, we are strengthening the government. We are strengthening our system. So what we have to do is to develop representations and present these realities and tell the truth through scientific measures and approach the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.